Mhm.
Hello, everybody. As already Jana kindly introduced me, my name is Anu, and I'm the Managing Director for Estonian Business Angels Network, shortly EstBAN. And again, as Jana told, I had the pleasure meeting and mentoring some of you. Unfortunately, my calendar doesn't allow to meet all of you, but if there is a super high need to get half an hour of my time, then of course I will find this for you guys, and then let's try to get time for him. My cat is mad at this very moment, so if he runs just through the screen, then just don't be bothered. So today, Jana asked me to tell you guys more about how to get investments and what is this angel investments all about. And I took one of those presentations that's meant a bit more advanced. So I guess you have had already those sessions that makes the difference. What's between, I don't know, difference between the bank loan and angel investment and crowdfunding and grants. So all of those other investment or getting financed opportunities. So today we'll focus more on what private investors are looking for from a startup. So first of all, a bit of introduction about myself, then the process, what EstBAN is doing and what are investors looking for. And then I have prepared some checklists for you guys. So what should you have in order to actually start raising and actually raise investments? And then bits and pieces about the investor pitch deck as well, or just pitch deck or just investor deck, however you want to call it. So let's get into this. I hope that I won't spend more than an hour, but let's see. I saw that Jana booked 2 in my calendar, so let's see. But let's try to answer all your questions as well, and keep them coming to the chat. And if there's an urgent need, just unmute. Or I don't know how Jana you'd like to do this, but let's take the questions maybe afterwards then. Anyways, who am I? I have been now working with angel investors since 2017, so it's already ticking 5 years with Estonian Business Angels Network. But prior to that, I started building student teams in TalTech with the Starter program. Maybe some have heard about that. So I was one of the team members who built the Starter program in the very beginning. And now on a daily basis, I'm not every day looking through the startups anymore. There's a deal flow manager who does that for me, or for EstBAN. But I have been seeing hundreds and hundreds of startup applications during the years. And I'm working with now over 270 investors on a daily basis. So I try to know who they are, what they need, what kind of investments do they like to make, why, how the economic situation influences them, etc. I am holding 2 degrees, some public economics and also technology management and innovation from Tartu. And as you can see those happy faces, I can say that most rewarding with EstBAN, I know Jana can agree with me, most rewarding is actually to give the money to the startups and see those happy faces.
Exactly. This is my favorite moment.
Yeah. So you can see on the picture, the startup is in the middle there. You can see this really happy face. And this is Jeff App. And when we invested this 170,000 euros into Jeff App, they were, I think, evaluated 3 million. And now they're, I think, over 30 million already. So within a few years, what a growth in a startup. All right, quickly about Estonian Business Angels Network. So that's my team. We're working 3 ladies very actively. So we are an NGO, just to make it sure or clear. EstBAN itself is not investing. We're not a fund. We're not holding a fund. There's no money in EstBAN. I can say no money, basically. There's only a bit for salaries for us, but unfortunately not for you guys in EstBAN's bank account. But there are over 270 investors in EstBAN. On their bank account, there is your investment. So that's important to make impression for them. but we are just helping and guiding you towards that. And there's 7-member boards. So if you would like to really get near to the investors, then make sure to get to know and build good relations with those board members. So they're one of the most connected people in EstBAN. Of course, if you want to follow us, main channels, Slack and emails, websites, and social media, we're strong there as well. And what we provide, of course, deal flow, so meaning you guys to our investors, and the main tool for this is pitch events and Dealoom platform. I will show this later on. Of course, networking events and knowledge sharing events for investors as well as to the startups. We're kicking off with startup trainings again next year. So that's a good place to keep your eye on. Of course, different projects and syndicated investments that I'm going to stop on as well, and different services, but mainly, of course, the services and the trips and the events and everything. They're focusing on the investor side, just to cater their interest and cater their needs, as they are paying for us to do that. But startups are not less important in this game. Just really briefly about the process that you can approach EstBAN. There is an application form on our website. If you go to estban.ee, there is application form for startups, and you can read there also what are the requirements to get investment. Then within a week or something, we will provide you initial feedback, and majority of startup applications need some clarifications or need some changes. So don't be afraid that somebody asks some additional questions. Then there's a screening call, and I think half of the startups or even less who applied can come to those pitches and then present their ideas. And then there's a pitch. Investors will see your materials, and hopefully there's going to be an interest from investor side, and then also hopefully term sheets and agreements and money. So really easily, but I will dig into this process later on. So this is how the profile looks like that we expect you to fill in. Basically, it starts with a one-liner. I hope you have gone through a training or something to put together a one-liner for you guys. Jana is nodding that yes, there has been something that you have put this together. Then we expect you to really briefly explain your problem, the solution that you provide, the business model behind it, the market that you're playing on, and also what have you already accomplished. So this is a really thin layer of your startup basically profile. And if you would go here under the details bar, then there's more details. But basically, I think already now through product, you have covered all of those pieces that you need to fill in here. One of the important parts that please, when I'm speaking to you right now, please pay attention now. Everything else is you can just leave aside. But this capital seeking, those euro numbers here means that how much money are you looking for from investors to raise? At the moment, the Cuploop profile here wanted to raise by that time 300K to 1 million euros. This means that their round size is expected to be minimum. What they can survive with is 300K, and up to 1 million, what they could like take in. Of course, this fell somewhere in the middle, what they actually raised by the time, but this is what they expect. And this pre-money valuation, this means that this is the value of your company before this round investment comes in. And I will just show one little slide about this, how to calculate or how to get to know what's your pre-money valuation. But please do not go wild. Do not, or anyways, please do think really carefully and before stating a number there, what's your company valuation. There's hundreds of different methods how to evaluate your company. Just take one which is most reasonable or makes sense most to you guys, and then use this method. And just pre-money valuation means that how much your company is worth before the investment comes into your company. I have seen so many different interesting numbers there, but I just wanted to make sure. And if an investor asks, then like, what's your pre-money value? What's your pre-money value? They don't even say it out that whether it's a valuation. What's your pre-money value? So make sure to be ready to answer. If you're raising money, be ready to get the money on, to take the money on board. Know those little details. And I just have left this slide here to tell you what does syndicated investment mean. Angels are herd or pack animals. They don't go solo usually. So everything that goes, the investments that goes two and more investors in one investment usually is called a syndicated investment. That this one cup loop round of 300,000 euros probably will be put together by more than one investor. And if those more than one investor goes under the same term sheet, and maybe they even go from the same vehicle, then this is a syndicate. And the most important thing for you guys is the lead investor of the syndicate. So I really, really recommend for you to, from day one, that you know that you're going to raise money, from day one, search for a lead investor or search for a person who could be the lead investor, who could be the most supportive investor for you in the round, and make sure that they're well connected, make sure that they know what they're doing and what they're expected to do and how to support you. So basically, if there's a syndicated investment, and I don't know, probably you have heard that, oh, investment is like a marriage. So when there's a syndicate, then you will be married with this lead investor. He or she will be supporting, being there. If there's a problem, if there's a challenge, if there's a mess up, then he will be the one asking you guys like, hey, what's up? Send me reports. Hey, where's your return rates, or where's your revenue, guys? So anyways, make sure to find a lead investor because they help, or he or she helps you to put the round together, but make sure to have a good choice on the lead investor. And this might be even harder to get the money, getting the lead investor. So I've seen startups saying like, this was too hard to find a lead investor. They have put the syndicate together by themselves and leading basically by themselves. All right. Just one more small thing here. It's always good to have cross-border investors in your syndicate because they are the ones the closest to you on a foreign market. So they are the ones who can help you build contacts, open doors on foreign markets. So I really just suggest you have some foreigners. So this is a drawing by Ivo Remmelg. I don't know how much have you already met him or do you know him, but Ivo is one of the most active investors in EstBAN in Estonia overall. And this is a small sketch by his, but I think it's one of the best ones. So investors are looking for success. And there will be no success if you don't have a well or good enough product, which is put on to a decent big market by a really, really good working team. So these are the three very, very basic things that you should pay attention. I will go through those abbreviations here. IP, as you know, intellectual property. GTM, between market and team, is go-to-market strategy. Sorry, I can't see half of my slide. Yeah, go-to-market or go-to-market strategy. So make sure that this team is capable of taking this product to this market with this go-to-market strategy. And PMF here is product market fit. So make sure that this product that you have fits for this market. So if there's a need on this market, is this market big enough? Is the product well enough? So there's hundreds of questions, but this is a very, very basic understanding. And there in this very small triangle, the success is. So if you take one of those away, for example, you have a really great product and you know that's amazing, but there's no market for that, or maybe you're too early, or maybe you're too late for this product you put on the market, then there's no success or no value for the investors. So let me click all of those here. So what should a startup have to get funding? So we started already by this really short sentence. So you need to be able to describe what you do with one sentence. And the best would be if your grandmother understands this one sentence. What are you bringing on the market? So for example, if I would say to my grandmother that I am bringing, or I'm building a tool with what I can make free internet calls to wherever in the world, then this is Skype saying. Or TransferWise, just taking less money from each of the bank transaction that makes cross nations or cross borders. So it has to be really, really simplified, this product. Of course, the business has to be scalable. Meaning scalable is that in order to get angel investment or VC investment, you cannot stay in Estonian small regional market. You cannot be just a hairdresser or bakery or any other lifestyle business. That's all nice, but for those businesses, there are different financing methods. And the market has to be big enough, and the market trends need to be growing. And no investor will come onto a sinking ship, so that the markets are decreasing or going down. Right timing, as I mentioned, in startup world, there's a good joke that for startups, the timing is already too early, and then it's too late. So the right timing is one of the most important things. Show growth. And here on this point, I would like to say to you guys, the earlier you are, the bigger the growth has to be. But you don't have to show only revenue growth. You can show growth of signups, growth of downloads, growth of interested people in your, I don't know, list of potential customers. So I don't know, some newsletter signups or something to show that the people are really, really interested. Of course, the best lakmus paper or the best test is showing growth in revenue. Early revenue is the best to show to the investors. If you're pre-revenue, you need to show growth in something else. This is a really, really important thing. Then unit economics, again, some abbreviations here. Unit economics, meaning that this has to work. Your product lifetime value or your customer lifetime value has to be bigger than your customer acquisition cost. So meaning that your customer needs to bring back more than you spend on the customer, like getting the customer. That's easier said than done. So make sure to think of the customer acquisition cost. How much money do I need to spend? How much salaries do I pay? What are the marketing campaigns that I need to make to get this one customer? And if you're in B2B and like especially to the corporates, customer acquisition cost might be really, really high, meaning that the lifetime value needs to be really high as well. You need to keep the customer with you as long as possible. Then the documentation, please make sure to have the documentation all aligned, all really, really properly managed before you go to the investors. That shows you in a really good light. I hope you have already talked about, but 2 sets of slides would be nice. The longer one and a shorter one. Of course, I have seen startups having 30, 50 different slide sets to different investors, to different occasions, to different conferences. And for me, slide deck is something that needs to be a live document. You need to change it all the time. You have new figures today, you put them in the slides right away. It can't be that you're going to a meeting with an investor with old slide deck. Oh, those numbers are not correct here. Don't do that, please. All the time, the slide deck needs to be updated. And you have to have all the new numbers on a daily basis. Then you need to be ready to communicate with investors periodically. Usually it's a month or quarter based. So you need to be able and willing to send investors reports. I have already seen some of the teams here who are struggling with having more than one founder. I really recommend, and in majority of the investors' cases, that's a must. Majority of investors don't invest into solo founders startups. There is a really, really simple explanation for that. What if you fall in love, you personally fall in love that much that you cannot do the business anymore? You're just in love, and your head is high in the skies, and your business doesn't matter to you. So what happens to the investors' money then? Or what if maybe a bit more negative case, you get hit by a tram and you spend half a year in hospital? So just in order to mitigate those risks that investors are taking anyways with you guys, then they expect you to have more than one founder in the team. And founder meaning that there needs to be shares more or less equally shared by those two founders. I don't think that it's a good sign that you as a founder have 95% and then there's the second founder with 5%. That's maybe not the best scenario. And that's where we get to the not ruined cap table. Make sure not to ruin your cap tables with very early stage rounds or early stage rounds, or those FFF rounds, or maybe some investors have some old school investors on board. And old school investors, I mean that they come from maybe more traditional industries, where, for example, 30,000 euros as an investment could give them 30% of your company. Maybe for a hairdresser salon or I don't know, car repairman shop, that would make sense. But if you're building a scalable business and building a startup that you would like to have several rounds of investments, then giving away 30% of your company with one of the first rounds just doesn't make sense. There is maybe some next other time we can speak about what should the cap table look like, but I don't suggest giving away more than 15% of your company with any round. So this means that you can build up the company further. And then, of course, there's the sparkle in the eye. There's something very interesting about you personally, why the investor trusts you with his or her money, that you are taking this 100K into being 1 billion euros. So there's this X factor, this spark in your eyes. I promised you guys one opportunity how to calculate or how to approximately put your valuation into place. So first of all, you should take a look of what you have. Where are you at the moment? If you're in MRR, meaning monthly recurring revenue, if you're getting none or 1,000 euro every month, and you show the growth and everything that I spoke before, so and you show the growth 15 to 20% month over month, MOM. So meaning that you could raise around 100K, like, okay, less than 100, that doesn't make too much sense for a good growing startup, but 100 to 400K, and your valuation should be somewhere between 500K to 2 million euros. That's just sort of a logic. So if you're, I'm sorry, I can't see again my slides, but if your MRR is already from 1,000 to 50K and you're growing a bit less and you're raising up to 2 million euros, then your valuations could be somewhere over there, around 6 million euros, etc., etc. So I will send you the slides afterwards. You can do your math, but there are different ways of how to get your valuation set. And yes, as I mentioned, try to raise like first actual external funding around, or I couldn't say around, but not less than 100K, because this shows that you don't actually have a really good plan how to go to the market, and everything prior to that should actually come from FFF or some grants or some your own savings, etc. So so this first angel investment is comfortable for investors to have around 100K. Could be less, could be 85, could be 70 if you really well explain this, that this really takes you to the next step where you need to be. All right, how to prepare then for those investments? And as mentioned and as promised, there is a small checklist for you guys and things to consider, actually to think through before you get to the angel investment or venture capital. So there are different phases for the process of raising investment. You all probably are following the first statement, that you have a great idea, you have a really strong team and an excellent product market fit, meaning that this product that you're building goes well with those customers and the market is big enough, everything that I spoke before. So next step is finding investors or an investor or a lead investor, or turn to EstBAN or whatever other channel would you use. Then a pitch, probably, hopefully, there's going to be some interviews done. In between of interviews or meeting with investors, somewhere over there should be a term sheet signed, which takes you to the next step of opening up all the materials that you have, showing those to the investors, and the due diligence is done. And then hopefully, again, your due diligence has no red flags, only greens, and all the investors cannot say no to you. So there's the closing, there's the agreements, there's shareholders agreements, there's investment agreements, there are all sorts of paperwork done, and finally money transferred. But just there's where the work begins, right, guys? So that's where you start actually working and bringing money back to the investors. All right, so before you even start the raising process, you need to identify or determine those financing needs and the basis of those financing needs. So what do you really need the money for? How much do you need? Take, I don't know, those price offers, or calculate, if you take on board one developer, how much does it need? Where does this money that you're going to ask for investors, where does this money take you? This is called runway. So how much time would you need to spend this money, and by the end of runway, where will you be? Will you be able to raise your next round? So that's one of them. Again, I'm always saying that's so very important, but it is so very important that you know where are you going to be when you have spent this, I don't know, 100K, 80K, 120, or whatever sum are you coming up with, that you know where are you going to be, what are you going to promise to those investors, and are they like okay with this promise? So there is the scales, disadvantages and advantages brought in by the investors. As mentioned, I really hope that you know differences between a grant, crowdfunding campaign, angel investors, VCs, IPOs. So you need to take really good care and understand what kind of disadvantages those and advantages, of course, those investors and different vehicles or different methods bring in. And you all in your team need to make sure and decide and negotiate and talk through the equity dilution, meaning that if a private investor or VC comes in, then you need to be diluted. You need to give away your shares to those investors in order to get the money in return. Some founders I have seen are not okay with this. They say, that's my equity, that's mine, I'm not willing to give away any equity, and that's where it stops. This startup will never raise funding from investors. Maybe they will get some grants, so this free money. Maybe they will take a loan from a bank, but they will never get VC or angel investment. And try to understand the principles, how the business angels, venture capitals, and other entities, organizations, whatever, work. What's the system? what's like the thing that I'm telling about angel investments at the moment. So understand what's their need behind it, and surprise, surprise, they're looking for an exit. They're looking for an exit of your company to get their money back. Especially angel investors and VCs even more than angels, of course, because they need to return money to their LPs or limited partners who have invested in their funds. But of course, all of them, they want to get their money back, and they want to get their money back at least 10 times, 3 times more or 10 times more than they invested within a very certain time period. So this money is usually not expecting to get just dividends every year. So they're expecting to get a huge return in a few years. So if you take care of all of this above, then it would be really nice if you would draw or write out an ideal investor for you. In which sector do they perform, or what sector do they know the best, or in which markets do they work? Are they here local? For example, Estonian investors, they know the most the Estonian market, or are they maybe in Germany? Maybe they're in Nordic, somewhere in Finland. Which field, which expertise, in which networks do they need to be most connected? So I usually, if I see a startup just pitching or on a mentoring session, I usually ask, who is your perfect investor? And they need to be describing this really, really specifically. Just, oh yeah, I need just the money. That's usually not good enough answer for me. So a checklist. I will send you the slides. So before like actually going to the investors, you can just tick all the boxes. I really hope that at least by the time you end Rototron and you're really, really determined to go ahead with this project that you have, you will establish a legal company. Usually in Estonia, it's a OÜ. Don't think too much. In Estonia, you don't have to start an OS or a more structured company. So it's an OÜ that's it was 190 euros just for the registration fee. It's not too biggie, but make sure to have the founders agreement and the contract between the founders set up really, really early in the game. So this outlines the roles, the rights, the responsibilities of each of the owner in the business. And you get the template from the Startup Estonia website. Don't worry about it. You don't have to think this out by yourself, or you don't have to pay for the lawyers, but make sure to have something like this already agreed upon while you're establishing a company. Then a business plan, market researches, traction to dates, financial forecasts, etc., etc. How will you make money? What is your own cost? How will you produce, or how will you develop this? What is the development cost? Yada, yada, yada. Everything that is to do with the business side would go into the business plan. Then those smaller papers, so that one pager, I know that the Prototron already, I hope the Prototron already helped you prepare a one pager. This is not very often used nowadays, the one pager as a format. So usually investors are looking or asking for an investor deck or pitch deck. And as mentioned again, there could be 10 different pitch deck versions, but the best would be that you have at least one short one that you can present, and you don't have to have full of text. On the other hand, it could be really, really short and really to the point. And the other one should be that you send with an email more thorough pitch deck that explains more what you do, how you do, what's your business, what's your solution, what's technology behind your solution, what market trends are, blah, blah, blah. So all of this. Then how are you going to set up the capitalization table, meaning cap table? If somebody asks you, okay, what does your cap table look like? This means that who are owning your business at this very moment of time. And there's also one term that I don't think that's here. I will mention this at the moment, is option pool. So if you're building a startup and you're already thinking of those things like cap tables and dilution and such, then 10% of your owner, your company should be left for the option pool, meaning that option pool is for the future employees to motivate them, and that you don't have to dilute anyone or any investors. Then 10% could be divided in the future, and this should be left there without touching it for the future. Nobody owns this. Yes, this will be nobody namely owns this. This will just belong to the company. And this is usually a requirement, not from angels, but from VCs. So there needs to be an option pool, something for the future. Maybe there's an advisor who needs to have 2% to take your company to the next level. Then have a list of target investors. So as mentioned before, an ideal investor, I would expect that you have at least 50 investors in your target investors list. So the most important up in the front, do the background research, especially for the VCs. I've heard so many VCs not even opening the emails if they see that the startup hasn't done their homework, and that they don't know what are who are they turning to, or who are they writing to. So this is so important that you are actually doing the research. For example, what is Ivo investing into? And what's his favorite topics, etc., etc. And are you a good match for him? And this shows out from even the email that you sent to them, or maybe get a warm introduction from someone to this very investor or to the VC. This works so much better. So as mentioned, around 50 investors at least. And then network, and then network, and talk everywhere on every possible occasion about your startup, about your idea, how you're going to develop this. Please don't keep it a secret. There's nothing that nobody else in the world would do better than you if you just say it out. Yes, you don't have to say very specific technological, I don't know, code line or to someone, or this very secret sauce, but just make sure that everybody in the region or in this network of yours knows what you're doing, and this behind your back builds good connections for you guys as well. And make sure to proofread all the materials. Investors hate where there's logical errors, technical errors, I don't know, even writing errors. You will just lose a good lead if you have some gibberish on your slides. I really recommend using Startup Estonia model documents. I know that they're proofreading and or doing things or improving the model documents at the moment. I think they're adding some IP restrictions there that helps you even more with the intellectual property part. But hand on my heart, Estonian investors always, not always, almost always, use the term sheets from here, use the shareholders agreement from here, the investment agreements, etc. So these work really well in Estonia, and I can say that these work really well in all of the Baltics and almost all in the Nordics as well. Okay, let's see. I have some questions here. Let me take those. Oh my God, too many. What kind of milestones do investors and startups plan and then report every month? You know, that's a really good question. I could spend hours speaking about the KPIs of which they track, but very, very usually this is month-over-month growth, and our MRR, month-over-month revenue growth. So that's like one. Of course, there's in the later stages. Oh my God, I lost this. So how many clients are, that's called churn. How many clients are giving away or just saying no to your service, that they used your service or product, but they're not going to buy this anymore. That's churn rate. All sorts of financial KPIs that you could measure. What is your customer acquisition cost? So how much money do you spend on getting one customer? What is your burn rate? How much money do you burn on a monthly basis? Etc. etc. I think I have somewhere the KPI, like the typical KPIs that startups measure, but it really depends on your own company as well. Like what's your company? What can you actually measure? So Guntis, if you're really interested, I can you can write me afterwards. I will try and find this material. What is indicate? Somebody unmuted, but I'm going to continue. What is indicatively the minimum return ERR required by the pre-seed investors? How long pre-seed investors stay in the company? How they usually exit? I will come from back to the front. They usually exit when a majority investor comes in or the company is purchased. There's an M&A acquisition perhaps, or acquired by another company, and they expect this to happen within 10 years. So 10 years would be the time where investors get uncomfortable, that they are expecting to actually be already by that time exited from the company. But again, on the theoretical side for the investors, the later the exit comes, the probability says it's going to be bigger, it's going to be more valuable. Of course, those really quick exit, if they come in 2 or 3 years, they probably aren't more than maybe 1.5, 2 times money back, hopefully. Of course, those exits that no money back comes within a few years. So this really, really quickly that the company goes bust and there's no money back. And but the ERR or IRR I cannot say because I haven't heard that investors are looking this return on investment like as this number really, really significantly. This is really difficult to calculate this for say, because the exits happen so seldomly, I could say, that they are like far down in the future, and the investment scene in Estonia is now becoming 10 years old. Prototron is 10 years old, EstBAN just turned 10 years. So we're really hoping to see those bigger exits now, and we can calculate those internal rates of revenue. So anyways, the investments returns better when we have seen actually those bigger exits. Oh my God. Okay, Joseph is asking more specific questions. I can answer to this maybe you directly. What is a typical founder's salary? Oh my God, what a question. Salary for a founder, you know, if you already have an investment on board, a decent investment on board, then make sure to pay your employees as well as yourself a decent amount. I cannot say you that like a sum. It depends on how much money did you raise. But investors, if they have already invested into you, they expect you not to be in hunger and not to eat only macarons and I don't know, potatoes. They expect you to be happy, healthy, and well working if they have already invested. But if you don't have an investment yet, I expect you to pay nothing for yourself until you until you have raised the investment or you're earning a very decent revenue. So usually, I don't think that there's no point, like you're bootstrapped anyway, so you're then paying your own money to yourself. So I don't think that makes sense. But when you're if you have already raised the investment, then make sure to keep those people that you have and make them happy. Of course, the runway should be somewhere between 12 and 18 months. And probably your salary is smaller than your developer's salary. So oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, no good answers there, but something over there. Okay, I will take this. Joseph said that you need to raise more than $1 million before prototype. Is this that specific type of investors we should focus on, and how to approach it? This is going to be extremely difficult to raise 1 million even without having a prototype. A mock-up as something that you can already get some letters of interest on top of that. So this yeah, sounds like a heavy deep tech product that you're going to build, that you need so much money before even having something to show. Look into grants first of all. Try to use all of the grant opportunities that you have, Horizon 2020s, whatever other opportunity there is. I know in Estonia there is Enterprise Estonia that gives out quite a decent amount for development. There's development grants. Try to get at least something to show to the investors. I know that there has been a case just recently where a deep tech startup raised investment from angel investors. They started with a 300K round, and now I think they're raising 5 million or something, which was a deep tech, but they had a prototype, and the prototype showed that this in a laboratory works, but they needed to prove that this works also in a factory or in a bigger scale. So if your things work in lab, then that's a good sign, but something needs to be working. It can't be just that they are believing what you're saying. All right, the pitch deck. I don't know. Okay, I have a few minutes. So 2 pitch decks, I already mentioned you. So you're expected to tell a story that convinces the investor that your idea, but not only the idea, you yourself are the best person to actually make this happen. So 2 types, a detailed one, a simplified one, telling the story. So this should go somewhere in a line of that. So you're telling a story about a problem on a market, and that you guys have a solution for that, for this large market, and that you guys can build a really profitable business out of this with this right model. You can see that there's, I don't know, B2B, B2C, subscription model, whatever. And there are competitors, yes, indeed, and the list of competitors at this, but we are really, really better than them because we're standing out because of this really secret sauce that we have, and those applications that we have, or we are cheaper, or maybe we're focusing on just on this niche of the group. And we have a really, really nice team for this, and we are already this far, and now if you provide us a little financing, we could be that far, and we want to grow bigger and faster. So that's a storyline. Every startup goes following the similar story. Yes, you can sparkle it up with different things, but the main things are there: business, market, solution, problem, team, competitors, etc. I will take the questions after, right? After this part. So the common components of the deck. So the topics included: company overview. This doesn't have to go in this order, but all of those need to be covered in a pitch deck. So really key facts: what problem are you solving? What's the team? Any tractions established? Locations. The vision and mission is something that could be left out. It could be there, but it's more of corporate wording, I could say, but this could be there. Team, super important, and don't just put the pictures and names. Please try to elaborate what the team is good for. How long have you worked together? What's their main strength? What do they do? What's their role in the business? This is so important, and as you can hear, investors are saying which is most important: team, team, team. So please make sure that to write more about this team. Then problem solution, also the product. What are the key features? The main thing that I ask from startups is like, okay, nice problem, nice solution. So what does the product do? What do you actually do with this? What are the features? Then, of course, the market opportunity, the customers as well. So your pitch should be clear, really informative and memorable. Of course, I have seen so many too memorable pitches, so don't go wild. And remember who you're talking with. Do know who are you talking with, like who's in the audience, who are you presenting to. Be excited by yourself. Please, if you're doing online pitch, do not read your pitch. Please do not read. Memorize. That's your lines. That's your company. That's your product. Memorize this. Be specific. Be concise. Don't just blabber around, just filling the word, like filling with the words. The slides should have one main point. Like, don't put like market and team on the same slide, or market and product on the same slide. Keep one topic on one slide. Use large fonts. Really include easy, understandable charts. Investors are usually very numeric persons, so they like to read numbers with their eyes. So have all the euros written out on the slides, or all of the statistics with numbers as well. And please practice before you go on the stage. And what to avoid: don't go really into the details of the tech. Don't use complex phrasing or descriptions. Nobody cares. We know that you are the best expert of your field, and we believe that you are. You don't have to convince this with really complex sentences and phrases about the tech part. Don't exaggerate the truth. If you have like 500 euros revenue, don't say it's almost 1,000. Please. Like that's this, or we have 300 billion euro worth of market waiting for us. Leave it out. If you don't know how big is the full market size, just don't say it. Yep, the pitch can't be too long. That's a logical one. Don't go too much into details. And I want to say that investors are mainly there for the business. They want to hear you talk about the business more than you talk about your solution. They want to know whether this business is an opportunity to grow their money, not that you have all the specs and all the details thought through about your solution. Too many bullet points, please don't blame me. With those slides, these are like meant actually for you guys to learn from. So there are too many bullet points on my slides, but on your slides, there will be like only 3 or 4 bullet points per slide. And always end with an ask. I say this all the time. Don't go away from your presentation. Whoever do you make the presentation for, don't go away without asking something. Maybe you ask from advice. Maybe you ask for additional team members, or you're looking for additional team members. Maybe you're looking for money. Maybe you're looking for somebody who knows really well I don't know, marketing in Finland. Advice. And I wanted to bring out, please be aware that investors might say no, that they're not interested in your product. They might be a bit rude, or that they don't have too much time to answer and they just say no. They might not respond at all. And please respect this. I have seen quite many startups calling me as EstBAN managing director saying, hey, Anu, this investor there is not answering my emails. So what? How can I help you? I'm sorry, that's their free will not to answer your emails if you're not interested in them. So so yes, this means that maybe you haven't done your homework well and you're approaching those investors who are not interested in this field at all. So make sure to know who you're asking, get those warm introductions. That's the best way to get through, I promise. There are some very good templates for the pitch decks. There are from Y Combinator, from Google. There's some investors who have put out in those decks. So I have left you some links to follow. And I think that's quite it for the pitch decks. And I really hope I can see really nicely developed, well thought through pitch decks someday from you guys, right? I have some slides for the due diligence. I have some slides for the term sheets, but maybe some other time. Let's take those questions and open maybe for the discussion. There was someone raising a hand in between, a lady it was, I can't recall the name. Yes, you, please ask.
Thank you. I just recently learned about licensing IP, and
Yeah.
I wonder, is it included in B2B, or how to write it in a business model? Like, if you know what I mean. When I make a slide about business model, and there I want to add like license IP, yeah. Like,
so you're selling your intellectual property as a license. Is this what you mean? Yeah. Then this is a business model. That's like how your business is set up. You're selling licenses.
So is it like B2B, or because I have already like a B2B?
It is
and
definitely
B2C.
It's definitely B2B. Like a license will not be bought by an individual person, a customer. Like I will not, as an individual person, probably buy your license, right? There will be a company who buys the license.
All right, then shall I write additional comments or something when I make this business model? Like,
of course,
yeah,
business model has to be really well described as well. Like who will be the customer who will buy this license, right? So this is the customer part. You have to describe the customer, and then you can understand if you describe the customer, then customer segments are different. Like maybe it's a corporate, maybe it's, I don't know, big corporation, maybe it's I don't know, university, maybe it's local authorities who would buy the license, maybe it's small medium-sized enterprise. So you need to describe in your business model who is the customer that will buy this license.
Okay.
Or who will purchase this.
Okay, then it's not a business model slide. It's a customer slide where I will describe it, right?
Yeah, it depends on how long or short of a slide deck do you do, but in the business model, like no, in the business plan, I mean, in the business plan, it should be like, yeah, the customer should be described, and then the business, like business model, how do you build it up? So you sell this license to this customer. But as a slide wise, yeah, it could be that you're describing the customer or the customer segment, and then you can just develop who's your customer, and then that you're selling licenses. But it's interesting. Only selling licenses, I don't know whether it's a good idea.
All right, thank you for
answering. Okay, Harold.
Yeah, hello. So hi. I had a question about this founders agreement document. Yeah. So there is this part that founders shall devote their entire business time to the company and no less than 40 hours per week. If I want my business time to be less, I want to say 30 hours per week, how will this influence like me finding a sponsor or this investor? investor, I mean, or getting a grant?
Okay, with getting a grant, probably there's no that strong requirements for you as a business holder. Probably if you like apply to Enterprise Estonia, they wouldn't ask like, hey, are you full-time or are you half a time until you're delivering the things that you promised. But for the investors, it's really important that you're full-time, usually. If you're pre-revenue, if you're still developing this, if you haven't raised any funding, that's okay to be not full-time. But if you're if you are a core team member or a founder, you have raised a decent amount of money, they expect you to have full-time. Yes, okay, everybody needs some time off, but usually they expect you to quit your daily job and actually work with this as a main thing. Usually, of course, there might be some differences, but if you say like, yeah, maybe yeah, I'm not going to say it out. So usually they expect you to work full time on this and even more than 40 hours a week. Yeah, Joseph, one more question.
Yes, thanks, Anna. What kind of centralized information sources would you recommend to check out the investors' background, what they invest in, and so on?
Yep, LinkedIn mainly. Usually the investors like to show off, usually. If you're talking about angel investors, then LinkedIn, yeah. But look what like in Estonia, I don't know where are you from, but in Estonia there's this äriregister. You can check in which companies are they holding their positions, what have they invested into, so you can see the cap tables that they're in. There's also in Estonia a sort of a paid service, not too expensive, that you can see a person being connected to companies, whether they're owning or their company is owning something. So you can see the connections of the investor. There's also angel list, where they have their profiles, and you can search for investors there. But for the VCs, make sure to know which companies are in their VC portfolios. So that is the best light to see like who have they invested into. That's a really good reference. Hey VC, hey Karma VC, I saw you have been investing this and this and this and this. They probably won't invest exactly into the same business twice. That's not very likely. But at least you can see the profiles of the startups that they have invested in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, Harald, you have one more? Or have you just left your hand up? Yeah.
I have one more. So could you please briefly go over the advantages and disadvantages of different funding? You mentioned before some is the investor, is the grant, is some IPO, and what are like the advantages?
Okay, really briefly then. So starting with perhaps maybe incubators, accelerators. They give you really good content, but they might take you a bit out of proportion equity, a bit. So they tend to take more than they're actually worth. So be really careful. For example, I don't know, Techstars would ask, I don't know, 15% of your equity just for the program. So be really cautious about what do you give away and what do you get back. So this is incubators, accelerators. Angel investors might be the first time that you need to give away equity. You might give away some control of your company as well. So this is the disadvantage. But angels usually bring in time, money, network, knowledge, good ideas, help you to build a business, because this money comes right out of their pocket into your company, and they are excited to help your company go forward. Then VCs, you give a lot of equity away, you give a lot of control away, and the control of reporting and transparency has to be or is even bigger. So they are, and the VCs expect you to return their money back. Angels might be more like loosey, okay, you start up fine, it takes 2 or 3 years more than I expected, fine. But VCs, they expect their investment period is 10 years. They invest 5 years, and the other 5 years they're doing follow-on investments, and then they need to give money back to their LPs, and they need you to exit. So just you need to know about that they are expecting their money back in a very certain time period. Bank loans, really difficult to get, but usually much cheaper than your equity. So with every equity percentage, you give your success away. But loan, you will just pay back within, I don't know, 5 years or maybe 10 years. Yes, you pay the interest, but this is usually smaller than giving away just your equity. IPO, amazing if you get there, but a lot of transparency again expected, and your company will be public to everybody. Every action that you make is transparent. You need to show everything. If you have seen good times, if you're seeing bad times, everything is out there in the public. Of course, it's very liquid. There's a lot of money, and you have more resources if you go to IPO. Yes, be just cautious about different IPOs. There's the big IPOs and also those sort of what is this called? Oh my God, I lost it from my head. Nord. Jesus. Okay, can't remember at this very moment. But there's different styles of IPO, so you can do IPO with smaller proportions of your company as well. All right, I hope I answered really briefly. Yeah, if you want, just take me out for a lunch someday, and I can talk more.
One question.
I'm sorry, I have Aimar waiting for really long time already.
Thank you. It was First North, by the way. This
First North. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus,
I have
my brain.
No problem. I had a question also in the chat. So
yeah,
when looking ideas from the internet for your pitch deck, usually they are oversimplified. So it's raised the question when I'm preparing my pitch deck whether the investors really read the pitch deck, or is this just a side thing that they look if you present things, and they prefer, I don't know, one pager instead to get the information?
Actually, you know what, the one pager, it's usually really packed together into really small letters, really tight, because you have only one A4 to fit all the information in. So what I have seen investors do, they just it depends on an investor, but investors usually just scroll through the pitch deck. They're looking for solution, they're looking for business model, they're looking for market sizes, and basically the time frame and growth projections, what do you project to grow. So usually they don't read the text. I can just be really honest with you. If you have a lot of text there, no point. If you have some pictures, some mock-ups, some evidence, what you already have, maybe you have a screenshot of the application or whatever you build, that works 100 times better than a text as a description what your app does or your product. They look at the numbers. They are usually a really good business persons themselves. This unit economics that I mentioned, they're making these unit economics calculations real quickly in their heads, and they understand whether this business works or not. And this is that's the main thing, whether the business works or not. Of course, there might be that maybe this field is really interesting for them. Maybe you're, I don't know, producing alternative meat or something. This might be really interesting for them, so they are searching for details or technical parts. So I don't underestimate pitch deck at all. And as mentioned in the beginning or prior, make sure to have this updated. The more recent updates you have, the better. And showing the growth, I was, I don't know, 100 euros revenue 3 months ago. I have 1,000 euro revenues last month and 1,500 revenues this month. This shows like quite a good growth percentage actually. So make sure to show growth. So don't underestimate the deck.
Thanks.
Sure. Now let's see. I have so many questions here. I think Maria, if there are 2 people presenting, how would they? Don't have 2 people presenting, please. 1 is good. How should they divide time speaking? Only 1 speaking, switching. You know, presenting is the deck. The investors need to focus as well. So if you're like switching all the time, and if you have like even more speakers than 1 on the stage, then the investors will look into the face of the other founder and see what maybe the other founder looks a bit weird for them, or they are not focusing on you. So try to prepare the pitch like that 1 person is pitching. Yes, if you need some support afterwards for questions and answers, no problem there. Have as many as you want, but I would really suggest have 1 person being prepared, having this by heart, and give a really strong pitch. I really hope that I didn't like blow up all the good ideas that you have 2 persons pitching.
No, it was very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Do investors really read the pitch? This was Aimar. I already told they definitely do. And Jürgen is asking, do I understand correctly that when asking for investment, you have to go back to the beginning and do the calculations again? And then investment only makes sense if something from the big plan remains unachieved without it. Oh my God, I don't understand the question. Or takes too much time to achieve with your own resources. Jürgen, please. Can you just elaborate?
The money is worth asking when you can't just do it without the money.
Yes, of course.
So
basically, this scenario, or you can actually, I've seen some founders saying, no, I don't need the money, like external funding, because I'm really good with my own revenue streams. That's okay. But it's hard to establish really quick growth with only the natural revenue stream. For example, you have a revenue stream of I don't know, 1,000 or 5,000 euros on a monthly basis. So each month you get 5,000 euros. But actually to go onto a new market, maybe establish your presence in a totally new market. Maybe let's take, I don't know, Germany, but let's take US. It is so much more expensive to go to a new market or build the huge scalability potential to your business than just your this natural revenue stream. Yeah.
When we see that we can do monthly revenue, maybe 50,000 per month at the first year. And second year, we could go to million and 1.5 million. And when we have an investment, we could do this 1 million investment on the first year. Then
yeah, you can just further and like make it more quicker.
Yeah.
And the reason why to make it more quicker is that if you are not quick enough, your competitors will just take this part of the market.
Yes,
and be there before you.
I feel that I could just focus more to the thing and get stuff better or working things better, not just being
worry about the money.
Yes.
But just a small maybe surprise for you guys, raising money is a separate job.
I know.
Basically, if you have a scaling business, if you have a quite like strong business case that needs to be scaled, raising money and raising external investment, it could be 2/3 of the CEOs or CFOs daily business. And then the saddest part is that when you close one round, you close this 500K. Basically, you need to start thinking and raising the next one, because within a year and a half, when the runway probably is over, you need to be ready for the next investment.
So
and that's yeah.
Can I add this 1 year looking for funding and working with an idea, like 60, maybe 80,000 euros that came out from my pocket and my partner's pocket. This is
that means self-funding, and this is really appreciated by the investors, that you show actually your self-funding, that you have been putting your personal money in to this idea, doing this and this and this, and this has got you that far, and now you need additional funding.
Okay, that this funding has paid my bills and my partner's bills, and is this okay to say as a self-funded? We haven't paid others; we have paid for ourselves, so we could.
You mean like electricity and the gas for the car and food?
Yes. I took off. I
understand. I've never thought of that. This goes into the framework of bootstrapping, yes. But if you say if you would like to bring out like self-financing for this company itself, then you should show yes, maybe a thin line of your own, maybe not kind of a salary. You're paying your bills is kind of a salary model, but investors maybe expect more to show how much money have you inserted into developing this product. Like maybe you have bought some development, maybe you have I don't know, use some money for marketing campaign. Maybe there's somebody like working on a salary with that. So just saying that you have paid your own electricity bills and state that this is self-investment for this project, then maybe not the best.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Then when we have achieved a couple of like fundings, not exactly government, but not also private, something in between, then it's also like a plus.
That's a really nice plus, yeah. But don't put it under investments, please. So if you have some governmental funding, also this Prototram money, for example, this goes under grants and prizes. It's not investment.
Yeah.
Because usually if you say, yes, we have, I don't know, 100K investments, then usually investors think that, okay, you have given away your equity for those this amount of money. But if you say it's grants and prizes, then it's really clear that you haven't given away any equity.
Then invitations to accelerators, programs, these are also like
invitations are nice, but what have you gained from this invitation? Like
well, a couple of invitations we might gain some money, but one is like a little bit waste of time.
Yeah, I suggest not to take those invitations which waste your time more than just leave them aside, especially if they waste your time more than they give back the money.
An invitation from like a banking to negotiate with a future project.
That might go under this establishment, like already what you have or achievements, like you have some letter of interests or you have some already committed potential customers, but this doesn't actually yet show anything. If you have just some, it shows that you have done your job, but it doesn't like really say that you're more investable. But I think Aiguna had some questions more. No? Yes, you said you have something else.
Yeah. The question was, I don't understand clearly what is a IPO. I mean, maybe I'm on a startup stage, and that's why I don't have an idea about how it
yes,
works.
maybe you don't have to. IPO is public offering, initial public offering. So when your company goes on a stock market and your company shares will be traded on a stock market. So I don't know, Microsoft's, Apple's, now Bolt is on, no, not Bolt, Wise just went to the IPO.
Does it go to stock market when it's EU? Like in Estonia?
No, by that time, it doesn't go to the stock market. No, you have to make a transfer that your shares are tradable.
Thank you.
So don't worry about that yet. All right. Why don't we call it a day? You see my email address. Just write me if you have some very specific questions. And you can always invite me to the lunch or just try to steal a bit of my time if you need some very specific answers. Yes, Jana?
Yes, I'm just thinking
there?
like, yes, the time is flying. So thank you very much, Anu. So just as you understood, Anu has hinted a couple of times, you just offer her lunch. So this is how the same to you can survive.
Or I can. Yeah.
All
right. Anyways, I wish you really good luck with Prototron. I know that majority of you are expecting to get something from there. Of course, not everybody can, but just don't give up. And I promise I will send Jana those slides right away, that Jana can share those with you.
Yes, and the video will be soon available on your Slack.